My sister Sarah was the person who raised me. When our parents divorced and Mom worked double shifts, Sarah was the one who picked me up from school, made dinner, helped with homework. She was 24 when I was 16, and she became more than a sister. She became everything. 3 weeks ago, she vanished. No calls, no texts. Her phone disconnected. I told myself she needed space after her breakup, that she would reach out when she was ready. I never imagined her silence would cost me everything I had built. Before I continue with what happened next, I want to ask you something. Where are you watching this from? Drop your location in the comments below. If you have ever trusted someone completely only to question everything, later hit that like button right now. And subscribe, because what I discovered about my own sister will make you rethink everyone you think you know. The phone call I am about to tell you about changed everything. It shattered the person I thought I knew best in this world. Let me tell you how it all started. It was a Tuesday morning in October. I was sitting in my office in Seattle working on a new project for the startup I had joined 2 years ago. The space was small but comfortable, with a view overlooking Puget Sound. A cup of black coffee sat on my desk, still steaming. I'd just been promoted to senior software engineer 2 months earlier, and life felt stable. Solid. I was 28 years old, finally making good money, and I had been saving aggressively. $440,000 sat in my business account. It was money from my grandfather's inheritance combined with 6 years of careful saving. I was planning to buy a house. My future felt secure. Sarah still had not called, but I had decided to give her more time. She had always been independent, strong. If she needed space, I would respect that. I figured she would show up eventually with an explanation and an apology for worrying me. Then my phone rang. It was Martha Henley, my accountant. Martha was 45, methodical, and calm. We had worked together for 4 years, and she always communicated through email. A phone call from her was unusual. I answered. "Hey, Martha, what's up?" Her voice was shaking. "Colby, I need you to stay calm. Are you sitting down?" I leaned back in my chair, smiling despite myself. "Come on, Martha, you are scaring me. What is going on?" "There has been a wire transfer from your business account. $440,000. My heart stopped. The room seemed to tilt. "That is impossible. I have not authorized any transfers." "To the Cayman Islands, this morning at 6:15. I stood up, my legs unsteady. I was at home. I was making breakfast for myself. Check the security records, the login history. Someone hacked my account. Martha's voice dropped to a whisper. "I know, Colby. That is exactly why I am calling." The way she said it made my blood run cold. "What do you mean?" The transfer was dual authorized. It required 2 signatures, yours and Sarah's. I sat back down, my mind spinning. 2 years ago, I had added Sarah to my business account. I'd been in a car accident, stuck in the hospital for 3 weeks, and I needed someone I trusted to handle bills and payments. Sarah had taken care of everything without asking for a dime. I'd never removed her access because I never thought I needed to. She was my sister. "That cannot be right," I said. "Sarah would not do this." The IP address traced to Portland, Oregon. The receiving account is an anonymous offshore entity. "Colby, I am sorry, but this was not a hack. This was deliberate." I tried to call Sarah immediately. The number was disconnected. A cold, automated voice told me the subscriber I was trying to reach was no longer in service. I called again. Same result. 3 times. Nothing. My hands were shaking. I kept telling myself there had to be an explanation. Sarah had raised me. She had sacrificed her 20s to make sure I had a stable childhood. She had loaned me $5,000 last year when I needed a new car, and she never asked for it back. This did not make sense. But then another voice in my head whispered, "Then why is her phone disconnected?" I called my mom, Diane, 58 years old, living alone in Spokane. She answered on the second ring. "Mom, when is the last time you talked to Sarah?" 3 weeks ago, honey. Why is everything okay? 3 weeks, exactly when Sarah disappeared. What did she say? Mom hesitated. She said she needed some time alone, that she would explain later. She sounded stressed, but I figured it was the breakup with that boyfriend of hers. Did she mention money? Anything about needing money? There was a long pause. She asked if I could loan her $20,000. I told her I did not have it. Colby, what is this about? I closed my eyes. I will explain later, Mom. I have to go. I hung up and stared at my phone. Sarah needed money 3 weeks ago. The same time she vanished. The same time her phone was disconnected. And now $440,000 was gone. I called the bank. They confirmed the transaction was legitimate and dual authorized. I demanded they freeze my account immediately. Then I called my friend David Park, a lawyer I had known since college. David, I need help. My sister just stole $440,000 from me. Slow down. What happened? I explained everything. When I finished, David sighed. If she had authorization on the account, this gets complicated. Legally, it is not theft in the traditional sense, but we can pursue civil action. You need to file a police report and gather evidence. What if I find her first? Colby family cases are messy. Are you sure you want to go down this road? I did not answer. I just knew I needed to understand why. I needed to look Sarah in the eyes and hear it from her. I took the rest of the week off work. I started making calls to Sarah's friends. Most had not heard from her, but one name kept coming up: Angela Torres, Sarah's best friend in Portland. I found Angela's number and called her. She agreed to meet me the next day. That night I barely slept. I kept replaying memories of Sarah. Her taking me to my first day of high school, her sitting in the front row at my college graduation crying with pride, her telling me, family takes care of family. Always. When had that changed? The next morning, I drove south on Interstate 5 toward Portland. It was a 3-hour drive through gray skies and drizzling rain. I gripped the steering wheel, my mind refusing to settle. The radio played in the background, but I heard nothing. I kept thinking about when I was 16 and Sarah paid my tuition for a semester because Mom could not afford it. She worked 2 jobs that year. She never complained. She just said, family takes care of family. How did we get from there to this? I arrived in Portland around noon and drove straight to a small coffee shop near Angela's apartment in northwest Portland. Angela was already waiting when I walked in. She looked terrible. Thin, with dark circles under her eyes, her hands trembling as she lifted her coffee cup. Colby, she said quietly, I'm so sorry. When did you last see Sarah? Angela looked away. About a month ago. Did she seem okay? Did she mention anything about money? Angela set her cup down. Her hands were shaking harder now. Colby, I do not know how to tell you this. Just tell me, please. She took a deep breath. Sarah has a gambling problem. A bad one. I stared at her. What? She started gambling online about 2 years ago. Poker. Sports betting. It was just for fun at first, but then it became an addiction. She lost over $80,000 last year. She borrowed money from loan sharks to cover her debts. Colby, she was in serious trouble. I felt like I had been punched in the chest. Why did you not tell me? She made me promise. She said she would handle it herself. She said she did not want to burden you. Who did she borrow money from? Angela's face went pale. A group in Portland called the Cascade Group. They are a loan company on paper, but everyone knows they are criminals. Sarah owed them $180,000. The interest was insane. They threatened her Colby. They said if she did not pay by the end of this month, there would be consequences. My stomach turned. What kind of consequences? The kind that involve broken bones, or worse. I sat back trying to process this. Sarah, who had always been responsible with money, had gambled away $80,000 and borrowed another $180,000 from criminals. and now she had stolen $440,000 from me. The last time I saw her, Angela continued, she came to my apartment crying. She said she found a way to fix everything. I asked her what she meant, but she would not tell me. She just said she was going to make it right. I understood now. Sarah had not just stolen my money out of desperation. She had planned this. Do you know where she is now? Angela shook her head. She disappeared right after that. I tried calling. Her phone is disconnected. I thanked Angela and left the coffee shop. My hands were shaking as I walked back to my car. I sat in the driver's seat for 10 minutes staring at nothing. Then I pulled out my phone and searched for the Cascade Group. Their website looked legitimate, a loan company offering financial assistance. But when I searched online reviews, the truth came out. Complaints about illegal interest rates, threats, harassment. Their office was located in Southeast Portland. I decided to go there. I needed to know how much Sarah actually owed and whether she had paid them. I needed to understand the full picture. The office was in an industrial area, a small building with faded signage. Inside it was cold and sterile. A middle-aged woman sat at a desk barely looking up when I entered. I need to speak to someone about a loan, I said. She picked up a phone, spoke quietly, then gestured toward a back room. Frank will see you. I walked into a small office. A man in his 50s sat behind a desk wearing an expensive suit that did not match the shabby surroundings. His eyes were sharp and calculating. You are the little brother, he said, smiling. She talked about you. How much does she owe you? Frank leaned back in his chair. $183,742, as of yesterday. That is insane. What kind of interest rate are you charging? He smiled wider, the kind people agree to when they are desperate. I clenched my fists. My sister transferred $440,000. She could have paid you off completely. Frank laughed. She paid us $200,000 3 days ago, wired it straight from the Caymans. My vision blurred. 200,000. Then where is the rest? He shrugged. Not my business, but your sister is smart. She took care of her debts and disappeared clean. I respect that. I stood up, my legs barely holding me. Sarah had not just stolen money to pay off her debts. She had kept $240,000 for herself. This was not desperation. This was calculated. This was a plan. Tell your sister, Frank said as I turned to leave. If you find her, we are square. But she better not show her face in Oregon again. I walked out into the rain, my mind screaming. Everything I thought I knew about Sarah was a lie. That night I sat alone in a cheap hotel room in Portland, staring at my bank statements on my laptop. Sarah had $240,000. She could be anywhere in the world. Then I remembered something. When Sarah was stressed, she always went to the same place, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It was where our grandparents had a lake house when we were kids. We spent every summer there. Sarah always said it was the only place she felt at peace. The house had been sold years ago, but she talked about going back someday. I opened my laptop and searched rental properties near Coeur d'Alene. I filtered by recent bookings within the last 3 weeks. Then I saw it. A lakefront cabin rented under the name S. Morrison. Morrison was our mother's maiden name, the name Sarah used before our parents divorced. She rarely used it anymore. I found her. The next morning, I drove to Idaho. It took 7 hours. I called David on the way and told him what I was doing. If you find her, do not do anything stupid, David warned. Let the law handle it. I just want to talk to her. But I knew that was not entirely true. I wanted more than answers. I wanted justice. I arrived at the cabin just before sunset. It was remote, surrounded by trees with a view of the lake. A rental car was parked outside. Sarah's. I sat in my car for 10 minutes watching the cabin through the trees. Lights were on inside. I could see a shadow moving past the window. It was her. I took a deep breath, turned on my phone's recording app, and walked to the front door. I knocked. No answer. I knocked harder. "Sarah, I know you're in there." The door opened. Sarah stood in the doorway looking thinner than I remembered. Her hair was messy, her eyes sunken with exhaustion. But she did not look surprised to see me. She looked like she had been waiting. "How did you find me?" she asked quietly. "Does it matter?" "You stole from me, Sarah." She stepped back. "I can explain. $440,000 to the Cayman Islands, then $200,000 to Frank Russo." Her face went pale. "You talked to Frank?" "I know everything. The gambling, the debt, the plan." She sat down on the couch, her hands covering her face. "I did not have a choice." "Everyone has a choice." She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. "They threatened to kill me, Colby. Frank said if I did not pay by the end of the month, they would make an example of me." I panicked. I did not know what else to do. "You could have asked me for help. I could not drag you into this." "So you stole from me instead," she sobbed. "I was going to pay you back, I swear." I pulled out my phone and showed her the wire transfer details. "Where is the rest of the money, Sarah, $240,000? "Where is it?" She said nothing. "Where is it?" "I needed it," she whispered, "to start over, somewhere safe." "Safe from what?" "From me, from the consequences of your own actions." She stood up. "You do not understand what it was like, living in fear every single day, wondering if they were going to hurt me. I had to get out Colby. I had to disappear. And you used my money to do it. I am your sister. You stopped being my sister the moment you chose money over me." The room fell silent. I took a deep breath and looked at her coldly. "Here is what is going to happen. You have two options. Option 1. You transfer every single dollar back to me right now. I have the account numbers. We do it together. I cannot. Option 2, I call the police. I have all the evidence. Wire fraud, identity theft. You will go to prison." Her eyes widened in fear. "Or option 3. I continued, I call Frank Russo and tell him you still have $240,000 of borrowed money. See how he feels about that." "You would not. Try me. You destroyed my trust. You stole my future. Give me one reason not to destroy yours." Sarah stared at me, crying. "Colby, please. I am your sister. You stopped being my sister 3 weeks ago." The silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. Finally, she whispered, "Okay, I will transfer it back." She opened her laptop with shaking hands. I stood behind her, watching every move. She logged into the offshore account. Her fingers hesitated over the keyboard. "Do it," I said. She typed in my account information and initiated the transfer. $240,000. The process took 20 minutes. 20 minutes of complete silence. My phone buzzed. An email from Martha. "Transfer received. Pending clearance. $238,000. Bank fees took 2. "Close the account," I told Sarah. She did. I looked at her one last time. "I am filing a police report. For the record." She looked up, panicked. "Colby, but I will tell them we reached a settlement. The money is returned. They probably will not pursue charges." "Why are you doing this?" "Because despite everything I remember who raised me, but that person is gone now." I walked toward the door. "I am sorry," she called after me. I stopped but did not turn around. Sorry does not rebuild trust. Goodbye, Sarah. I walked out into the cold Idaho night and did not look back. 2 months later, I sat in my new office in Seattle staring out at the same view of Puget Sound. I had received $238,000 back from Sarah. After losing $2,000 to bank fees and the $200,000 she paid Frank, I was down, roughly $202,000 total. But I decided not to pursue the rest. Some battles are not worth fighting. I filed a police report as promised. Because the money had been returned and Sarah had left Oregon, the case was closed without charges. I was okay with that. I'd not heard from Sarah since that night in Idaho. Through Angela, I learned she had checked into a rehabilitation program in Arizona for gambling addiction. Angela sent me a message. She is trying to get help. I read it and deleted it. I told my mom a simplified version of what happened. She was heartbroken but respected my decision to keep my distance from Sarah. "Give her time," Mom said. "Maybe one day." I did not respond. At work, I threw myself into my projects. I was promoted again, this time to senior engineering lead. With the $238,000 I recovered plus my salary, I was still able to buy a house. It was smaller than I had originally planned, but it was mine. The closing date was set for December. I joined a support group for people who had been financially betrayed by family members. I met others who had gone through similar experiences. Sharing my story helped. It made me feel less alone. I also changed everything about my financial security. New passwords, new authorization protocols. I was the sole signer on every account. I learned how to trust again, but this time with boundaries. One evening in November, I was packing boxes in my old apartment preparing for the move. I found an old photograph buried in a drawer. It was from my high school graduation. Sarah stood next to me, her arm around my shoulders, smiling brightly. I looked so young, so hopeful. I stared at the photo for a long time. Then I placed it in a box labeled Memories and sealed it shut. A week later, I received an email from an address I did not recognize. The subject line read, "I do not expect forgiveness." I hesitated before opening it. The email was short. Sarah wrote that she had completed 60 days of rehabilitation. She was working in Arizona, now slowly paying off smaller debts she owed to other people. She understood I did not want contact. She just wanted me to know, "I am trying to become the sister you deserved." She continued, "I know I destroyed us, but I want you to know you taught me something. Sometimes love means letting people face consequences. I hope someday you find peace. You deserve it." There was no apology, no request for forgiveness, just that. I read the email 3 times. I did not reply, but I did not delete it either. I moved it into a folder I labeled Someday. On the first night in my new house, I sat by the window and watched snow begin to fall. The house was quiet, empty, but it was mine. People ask me if I regret confronting Sarah, if I regret not just calling the police immediately. The truth, I needed to look her in the eyes. I needed to hear it from her. Because the hardest part was not losing the money. It was losing the person I thought she was. I learned that trust is not something you give just because someone is family. It is something earned, protected, and rebuilt when broken. And sometimes it cannot be rebuilt at all. Sarah taught me that love and boundaries are not opposites. You can love someone and still hold them accountable. You can forgive someone and still walk away. I do not know if I will ever talk to Sarah again. Maybe someday, maybe never. But I do know this. I took my life back. I stood up for myself when it mattered most. And that version of me, the one who drove to Idaho, who demanded what was rightfully mine, who chose himself, he is someone I am proud to be. The money I got, most of it back. But what I really got back was something more valuable, my sense of self-worth. The knowledge that I will not be a victim, not even to the people I love. And maybe that is the real lesson. Sometimes the people who hurt us most are the ones who loved us first. But their love does not give them the right to destroy us. We have to love ourselves more than we love them. That is not selfish. That is survival. If there is someone in your life right now who is taking advantage of your trust, ask yourself this: am I protecting them, or am I protecting myself? Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose you. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had someone close to you betray your trust? How did you handle it? Drop your story in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real stories about life loss and finding yourself again. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes we all need a reminder that choosing ourselves is not selfish. It is necessary. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps you find your own strength. Take care of yourself. You deserve it.